The problem of climate change is so important. Firstly, because we are actively altering the climate to be very different to the type of climate that life on Earth is adapted to. And it's important that we address this because if we're basically making life more difficult for ourselves and other life on Earth and future generations. It's a very challenging problem to address, though, because ultimately it's a collective action problem that lots of countries and people are contributing to.
My name's Don Abel. I had quite a long uh, career inside uh, banking in New Zealand, which included a period in the Reserve Bank, and recently I've been working at the World Bank. One of the things that really concerned me over the past, certainly over the past, I guess, decade, is the whole issue of climate change and indeed what we'd call now global warming, and how our governments were reacting. And this didn't actually matter which political identity you were looking at. Our governments seemed to be quite slow in reacting to what was needed to be done. So from my point of view, I was considering my children and my grandchildren and so on, and thinking, well, what can I do? And essentially, at this stage of my career, I could do very little, except provide some sort of a means or platform to have more younger, or certainly younger and better informed people to put forward what I would consider to be realistic options for us in dealing with the whole issue of global warming. And it was at that point I felt that we needed to develop a platform where we could raise donations, mainly from older people, because I think they're the people that have got most of the money. And that's why I saw this as a platform primarily aimed at boomers, and using that money to support younger researchers to bring their work into a format that could be placed in the mainstream media and understood by the general public, basically. That I felt that the boomers had a bit of a responsibility here to step up and do something. This is a relatively new initiative. And so at this point, we've had two young researchers have their work published, one in the Sunday Star Times and one in Stuff.
So I'm Nina Ives. I'm a PhD student at Auckland University of Technology. I'm about 15 months into my PhD at the moment.
Kia ora, my name's Pete McKenzie. I'm a freelance journalist based here in New Zealand. I've written for international outlets like the New York Times and The Guardian, and domestic outlets and magazines like North and South and the Sunday Star Times.
Farmers for Real Climate Measures provided funding for a piece of work that I did. It was looking at how the New Zealand government has responded to the COVID-19 crisis. Essentially, we were wanting to understand how much money was going towards measures which would help mitigate or support adaptation to climate change.
I hadn't heard of boomers before, but a friend of mine, Dr. Mike Joy, an ecologist, was affiliated with them. And he saw the potential opportunity there of an organization that is keen to fund thoughtful, deep, and incisive journalism, and someone who hopefully was able to do it. And the problem with a lot of climate coverage is that there's just not a lot of money for it. It's part of the problem of all journalism these days is that lower revenue and cost cutting has made it incredibly hard to do the kind of long form journalism that has the biggest payoff. And that's what Boomers allowed me to do.
If we hadn't received this funding, we wouldn't have been able to do the analysis. And we're really hopeful that we will get more funding from Boomers for real climate measures in the future.
Climate journalism is complex. It takes time, it takes money, and it takes resources to do it well, to tell the human stories that really show the impact that climate change is having, and to tell the stories that provide a hopeful pathway out. Boomers provides the money and the resources needed to do that climate journalism well, no strings attached. It's incredibly useful from a journalist's point of view.
So we would like you to help. We would like you to put some money forward so that we can carry on this research, not just this year, but in future years as well, and push forward to see some real changes that our governments can pick up and run with, so that young people can be proud of, to know that all generations are committed to seeing change.